Finally, my luck is turning around. Huh? Now that the old man is dead, it's finally my time. Despite my father passing away not long ago, he dared to speak so disrespectfully. He had been supported by my father ever since we got married. Do you realize what you're saying? Yeah, I know. I'll be taking the land and the inheritance. I inherited a considerable amount, right? You've been scheming this all along? Of course. I couldn't wait for him to kick the bucket. He misunderstands everything. You could never do such a thing. Ha! No use acting tough. Here, take this. He threw something at me. Pick it up. What he threw was a completed divorce form. A divorce form? You can't do anything without me. That's why I'll make good use of your assets. What if I refuse? Are you stupid? What other choice do you have but to divorce? For me, this was an opportunity. Everything up to now had been a sham. And he didn't know. He didn't know my true self. Hey. What are you doing? What do you think? I'm leaving this house. You'll regret this. Right back at you. Wait. You won't be able to do anything if you leave. We'll see about that. Your company had dealings with mine, remember? My company? What are you talking about? You'll find out soon enough. Oh, and I'll take care of submitting this divorce form, so no worries. Thus, I left the house. I immediately submitted the divorce form. And then I called his company. It's me. The project is cancelled. And all the contracts we had are now void. Please wait. If you do that, my true self is the head of a company that manages 7,000 employees. I thought, now that it's come to this, I'll go all the way. What will he do next, I wonder? I'm Abby Brown, and I just turned 40. I thought, I've gotten quite old, haven't I? While I was lost in thought at home, I heard a voice calling me. It was my husband, Ryan. What are you doing there? Nothing. If you're bored, you could at least clean the house. Know your place. I sighed softly, unnoticed. It wasn't like this when we first met. I met Ryan just 2 years ago. Back then, I wasn't particularly interested in marriage. It might as well have been said that I was married to my job. Yet, I ended up marrying Ryan. It all started with my father. Huh? I'm fine. I don't plan to marry anyone no matter how many times I'm introduced. Now, don't say that. You're nearly 40, right? It's a bit much to still be single at that age. Mind your own business. I intended to refuse, but my father was stubborn. Day after day, he kept saying things like, "He's a good man, you'll see if you meet him." But I knew it was my father's strategy. So, how about it? Do you want to meet him? Not at all. And it seems like we had been having this conversation for almost a month. And, as usual, he tried to persuade me that day. No matter how many times you say it, my mind won't change. Then at least look at his photo, you can decide after that. I'll look at it, that's all. Oh. By the way, where did I put that photo? In your study, as usual? Right. Father went downstairs to his study to fetch a photo. Suddenly, I heard a loud thud from the direction of the study where he should have been. I rushed to check and found him lying face down. Dad? What happened? Hearing the commotion, my mother also came to the study. Mom. Even in such a moment, she remained composed. Abby, call an ambulance right away. Oh, okay. I called, and the ambulance arrived in about 15 minutes. My father was unconscious, but his heart was still beating. He was taken to the hospital and treated. It turned out that my father had a stroke. A blood clot had temporarily blocked a blood vessel, causing him to lose consciousness. Dad. Sorry, who would have thought I'd collapse? This is no laughing matter. He was soon allowed to go home as there were no other complications. However, my father had all the risk factors for his condition: high blood pressure, smoking, and drinking. The doctor advised him to be careful, but he seemed to take it as if it didn't concern him. From now on, no more alcohol or cigarettes for you. But those are my pleasures. What will you do if you collapse again? My father loved his nightly drinks, particularly fond of whiskey, collecting bottles from all over the country. Then, he made a proposal. If you insist so much, I have a condition too. A condition? This isn't a negotiation. If you want me to listen, you'll have to agree to my condition. And what's that condition? Meet a man I want to introduce to you. Huh? If you don't, I'll continue smoking and drinking more. It seemed like he was enjoying the situation. But if it meant he would live longer, I decided to accept his condition. All right, I'll meet him. Good. I'm glad you said that. Mother, who was in the kitchen, seemed exasperated. Good, let's not delay. I'll call him now. No, that's not okay. When we decide to do something, we do it without hesitation. That's our family motto. I've never heard that before. Well, I just decided now. I was always at the mercy of my father. Who would believe he was the president of a large corporation with thousands of employees? His employees would surely be shocked. And just as my father said, a man arrived. Sorry for the sudden call. This is Ryan Smith, a promising talent from a company we do business with. Nice to meet you. Ah, nice to meet you too. I'm Abby Brown. This was how I met Ryan, and despite it being our first meeting, we ended up having an unexpectedly engaging conversation about work. It turned out that my father and Ryan had met at a president's drinking party. Moreover, my father had said something outrageous to Ryan. By the way, I heard from President Brown that you were incredibly popular in school, turning down boys left and right. Is that true? Huh? What's that all about? I glared at my father. Don't glare like that. You said something weird again. What are you talking about? It's mostly true. Maybe a bit exaggerated. It's better not to believe everything Dad says. He tends to lie a lot. Is that so? If you can't discern between lies and truth, you're not trustworthy. That's why lies are sometimes necessary. What a convenient excuse. I was always being manipulated by my father. Later, we drank together. Of course, my father had a soft drink. Drunk, Ryan became talkative and revealed his ambitions. I'm going to be rich. Rich? Yes. I'll live in a house like this one, and eventually, I'll become a president, no matter what it takes. What do you mean by that? Exactly what I said. Then, Ryan fell asleep. For the night, he would sleep in the guest room. As I was cleaning up, my father came by. What did you think of him? I think he's a very interesting person. He reminds me a bit of you, Dad. Yes, I've thought so since we first met. And it seems his father used to be the president of a small company. He's passed away now, though. I see. He's a good man, anyway. Father was completely smitten with Ryan, but I could see why. He was charismatic, the type that pulls you in when he talks. The next morning, when I went to wake Ryan in the guest room, I heard voices as if he was talking to someone. I understand. Everything is going smoothly here. Yes, don't worry. I'll definitely accomplish it. I waited for the phone call to end before knocking. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, it seemed like you were on the phone. Everything okay? Ah, that was my mother. She's a worrier. I see. My family is much the same. Ryan looked a bit troubled at that moment. Eventually, we ended up getting married. It was surprising even to me, but it was exciting as well. However, I was unaware of the incredible darkness he harbored. Ryan seemed quite happy to have become part of our family. Father even suggested we live with him, but Ryan and I decided we wanted to live by ourselves. Father then arranged an apartment for us. Let's keep in touch. Sure. At first, he was considerate, and every day was fresh and fun. But after a while, his behavior toward me became harsher. It felt like he was looking down on me. Did you clean the house? I just got back, so no. Can't you even do that? So, it was true after all. What are you talking about? This was how he greeted me when I returned from work. Listen well. From now on, you'll follow my orders. Why? Don't talk back, or I won't forgive you. Ryan wouldn't listen to anything I said. It became clear why he was acting this way. My father had called me a woman who couldn't do anything. Moreover, he apparently said I was incompetent at work and just a menial worker. I immediately complained to my father. Why would you say that? It was just a joke. Thanks to your joke, I'm having a hard time. Please clear this misunderstanding with him. Okay, but I can't believe he took it seriously. Father looked a bit surprised. Is it that surprising? No, sorry. I'll talk to him properly. Father explained to Ryan shortly after. Whether he was convinced or not, Ryan seemed to return to normal, but he still seemed skeptical of me. I couldn't stand it. Do you still believe what my father said? Huh? Does it look like that? The way you look at me. It feels like you're looking down on me. At that, Ryan bowed his head and begged for forgiveness. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I wasn't thinking. Well, as long as you understand, that's fine. Ryan appeared deeply affected by my words and began to be more considerate, talking less about work. However, I noticed he began to gauge my reactions. If he could just stop doing that, he would be a truly good husband. 6 months of these days passed when one afternoon, my mother called. Father had collapsed again and was taken to the hospital. What? Dad? He collapsed at home again. This time it might be serious. How bad is it? He's stable now. I'll go to the hospital right away. I rushed to see my father. Dad. When I arrived at the hospital, he was in surgery, and all I could do was pray. How is your father? You came. Of course. Ryan had been playing golf with a client. He hadn't answered his phone, so I had sent him a message. It's going to be okay, right? You know as well as I do that your father isn't that fragile. Maybe, but still. The surgery went on for hours, and I was on edge the entire time. Finally, the surgery was over. Doctor. How is my father? The surgery was successful. However, there might be some lasting language impairments. What's important is what comes next. Hearing there might be impairments left me feeling lost. It'll be okay. Thank you. Ryan gently placed his hand on my shoulder. At that moment, I felt truly grateful to be married to him. 2 days later, my father woke up. We were anxious since the doctor had mentioned possible language impairments, but thankfully, he defied our worries in a good way. Dad. You're okay. Is that you, Abby? And everyone else too. I've caused you all a lot of worry. I'm so relieved. I held back tears. Since my father would need to stay in the hospital for a while, we planned to visit him regularly. During one of these visits, my father shared something with me. Why did you do it? After you had quit for so long. I'm sorry. Ryan invited me after work. It's hard to say no to your son-in-law. That's not the issue here. This is the second time. I've really learned my lesson now. Turns out, my father hadn't quit drinking or smoking at all. And Ryan was involved too. After leaving the hospital, I rushed home, determined to confront Ryan. Why did you let Dad drink? What's gotten into you all of a sudden? Answer my question. Your dad seemed stressed from work, that's why. If this is the result, it's meaningless. You can't know for sure if the drink was the cause. But it might well have been the cause, couldn't it? What's the use in arguing about this? Are you trying to dodge the issue? Ryan walked away to his study, looking annoyed. From that day on, our communication almost ceased. He mostly ignored me when I tried to speak to him. Moreover, he was secretly up to something. He was often on the phone at night. At first, I thought he might be having an affair, but it seemed different. He occasionally mentioned things being on track or almost there. I felt I had heard similar things before but couldn't quite remember. Curiosity got the best of me, and I sneaked into his usually off-limits study while he was out. I thought, the last time I entered here was right after we got married. The room was tidy, nothing unusual at first glance. But the desk was cluttered. Among the mess, I found photos of my father and me, along with various company documents. I couldn't understand why he was collecting these. Suddenly, I heard the front door. Ryan was home. I thought, he's back. Not good. In my panic, I knocked over some items on the desk. I quickly picked them up and put them back. That's when I noticed something written in red on the back of a photo. I couldn't make out what it said before Ryan caught me. Hey. What are you doing here? Just thought I'd do some cleaning. Who said you could come in here? Answer me. Calm down, please. How can I stay calm? Did you see what's on the desk? Which is it? I didn't see anything. You've really done something terrible. He seemed very concerned about the desk. It must mean the items I saw were problematic for him. As I thought this, Ryan locked the room and slowly approached me. What are you planning to do? I need to make you understand your place. Stop. Ryan grabbed my arm forcefully. Listen. From now on, do not go against what I say. If you do, you'll see hell. His eyes were serious. I could tell that much. Soon after, Ryan changed the locks on the room to keep me out. Our relationship was no longer that of a married couple. I hesitated even to speak to him. The only solace was my father. Good you came. Yeah. You don't look well. What's wrong? Maybe I ate too much? Ryan, how are you doing? Is work going smoothly? Yes, thanks to your father, I was able to secure a major contract. I didn't really do anything. It's all thanks to your own abilities, Ryan. Everything seemed peaceful, but that was only when we were at the hospital. Ryan only put on a good face in front of my father. Continuing like this would only wear me down, both mentally and physically. Time flew by quickly, and today was the day to visit my father. I'm going to visit Dad, but I'll pass. You go alone. I think Dad is looking forward to seeing you. I went last time, that's enough. But enough. The hospital is far away, and I'm busy. How could he say such a thing? But rebelling could provoke an unknown fear in me. In the end, I went to see my father alone. Initially, my father was despondent about his hospitalization, but his natural cheerfulness meant he soon made friends with other patients. Dad. I found you. It's time for your temperature check. We need to go back. Is it that time already? Then let's head back. He said goodbye to the other patients he was chatting with and returned to his room. Isn't Ryan with you today? He's a bit busy today. He sends his regards. I see. I couldn't bring myself to tell him that Ryan didn't want to come. How are things with Ryan lately? Why do you ask all of a sudden? Just wondering if you two are getting along well. Well, it's okay. Didn't you ask that before? Did I? I've been forgetful lately. It's just as well, it's only you today. What do you mean? I have something important to discuss today. His news was unexpectedly shocking. My life was about to accelerate, and with it, my feelings towards Ryan were turning to hatred. So, what is it? Listen carefully. I'm falling apart. Continuing as president might become difficult for me. What? What will happen to the company? That's why I've found a suitable replacement. Who? Of course, it's you, Abby. Me? That's impossible. It's all right. No one is accustomed to it at first. But you've been by my side for years, watching. I've already discussed this with the other executives. Even so, to just spring this on me. Please. I had never seen my father so pleading. He had always been the one to protect the company and our family. Perhaps now it was my turn to protect him. After all, I am his daughter. Okay. Good. I'm glad you agreed. But you have to promise to rest and get better. Understood. And don't tell anyone about becoming president yet. Okay, I got it. Not even Ryan. Not Ryan either? Got it? Father's eyes were incredibly serious. I couldn't understand why he said that, but I agreed to follow his instructions. The reason behind his words would only become clear much later. For now, even though I was president, I couldn't just start giving orders. I needed to relearn everything my father had been doing. Fortunately, our company's executives were competent and truly supportive. 2 months passed. You've been coming home late. What have you been doing? I've been loaded with work. Some of the younger staff quit recently. Huh. I wondered if this lie would work, but it seemed to pass. Anyway, listen to this. I secured a huge contract today. And it's with your company. Oh, is that so? I had heard that a contract was finalized today, but I didn't know it involved Ryan. You should try to learn from this. Though, I doubt you could. I was irked by his comment and retorted without thinking. You won't know until you try. What? I realized I had said something dangerous. Provoking Ryan was risky, so I quickly tried to correct myself. That's right. There's no way I could do it. As long as you understand. A few days later, a call came from the hospital. My father's condition had suddenly changed, and tonight was critical. Unable to sit still, I left work and rushed to the hospital. By the time I arrived, my mother was already there, clearly exhausted. Abby. How is Dad? He's in his room right now. In the room, my father was lying down with a ventilator attached. He was barely breathing, and it seemed he could stop at any moment. The doctor mentioned there might have been a new clot in his brain. Then what about surgery? The doctor seemed hesitant to speak. The surgery was successful. However, the impact on the brain was more severe than expected. He might never wake up. I felt helpless that I couldn't do anything for my father. Before he collapsed, he didn't want the surgery. He's been having memory issues lately and was scared of forgetting his own family. Then why? He was still worried about his family. He didn't want to leave things unresolved. Then my father woke up. It's rare for someone to wake up from this state. The doctor was visibly surprised. Abby, are you there? Yes, I'm here. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. I'm listening. Be careful of Ryan. I'm sorry things turned out like this. What do you mean? There's an envelope in the drawer of my study. Look at it. Dad? As he spoke, his breathing became weaker and he passed away. Everything went dark before my eyes. Are you okay? Yeah. I just need a moment to calm down. And I need to call Ryan. I tried to call him, but there was no response. Isn't he picking up? No. Ryan never came to the hospital. Eventually, I returned home, and Ryan was acting as if nothing had happened. Why the rush? Why didn't you answer your phone? I was busy. What happened? Dad passed away. Just now at the hospital. Ryan looked down and began to tremble. What? Finally. Now my plan is nearing its final stage. What are you talking about? It doesn't concern you. Well, maybe it does. Then, Ryan locked himself in his study with a creepy smile. There are many things I am curious about, but right now, there are many things I must do. I headed to my parents' house to prepare for my father's funeral. Thank you for helping, even though you're busy. What are you talking about? This comes first. We shared the responsibilities for arranging the funeral. During a break, my mother mentioned something. By the way, didn't your father tell you to check his study? Ah. That's right. I'll go check now. My father's study was at the end of the hallway on the first floor. It had been a while since I last entered. Inside, I did as instructed and opened the drawer. Inside was an envelope, and I quickly looked through its contents. After reading it, everything that had happened became clear. I thought, so this is why Ryan. This was something my father had gathered for me. On the back of the envelope, there was a handwritten message from him. Reading it, I realized I didn't need to hold back anymore. Gradually, my anger and hatred towards Ryan began to boil. I swore to keep these feelings hidden until the right time. The funeral went smoothly, and I believe we gave my father a proper send-off. Of course, this was not the end. Later, my mother called and we gathered at the family home. It was just my mother, me, and Ryan. Thank you for coming. What's going on today? We're going to open Dad's will. When did he prepare that? Apparently, my father had made arrangements while he was in the hospital. The contents of the unveiled will were as follows. The family home and half of the estate my father left were inherited by my mother, and the rest went to me. But I inherited more than just that. The land is mine too? I wouldn't know what to do with the land. I'm sure you will find a good use for it. I'll think about it. Glancing to the side, I saw Ryan faintly smiling. The reading of the will was over, and my mother suggested we go out for a meal. I have to head back, sorry. What? After Mom invited us? You have a problem with that? Not really. Good. See ya. Ryan left just like that. All I could do was sigh. Sorry, Mom. I think I'll go back too. That might be for the best. We can always eat another time. Sorry. See you later. After leaving the family home, I quickly followed Ryan. He might be up to something again. When I got home, Ryan was sprawled on the sofa as if he owned the place. What took you so long? Where have you been dawdling? I came straight home. Well, sit down. I have something to talk about. I sat down, though I had a bad feeling about this. Ryan began to speak with a laugh. Finally, my luck is turning around. Huh? Now that the old man is dead, my time has finally come. Get it? So this was his true nature. Do you even understand what you're saying? Yeah, I understand. I'll be taking the land and the assets. I inherited a considerable amount, right? You've been aiming for this all along? Of course. I couldn't wait for him to kick the bucket. He misunderstands everything. You could never do such a thing. Ha! No use acting tough. Here, take this. He threw something at me. Pick it up quickly. What he threw was a completed divorce form. A divorce form? You can't do anything without me. That's why I'll make good use of your assets. Hand them over to me. You're still saying that? It's true, isn't it? You're useless at home, so I, being superior, will take it all. What an idiot he really is. What if I refuse? Are you stupid? What other choice do you have but to divorce? For me, this was an opportunity. Everything up to now had been a sham. And he didn't know. He didn't know my true self. Hey. What are you doing? What do you think? I'm leaving this house. You'll regret this. Right back at you. Wait. You won't be able to do anything if you leave. We'll see about that. Your company had dealings with mine, remember? My company? What are you talking about? You're just an employee. You'll find out soon enough. Oh, and I'll take care of submitting this divorce form, so no worries. With that, I left the house. I headed straight to the main street and immediately made a call. Yes. Can you come now? 10 minutes later, a hired car picked me up. Where to? For now, let's head to the city office. Understood. At the city office, I submitted the divorce papers, which I had signed in the car. I wanted to be divorced as soon as possible. I wanted nothing to do with such scum. Afterward, I drove to a certain location. When I decide to do something, I act immediately. That's our family motto. I continued driving straight to the company. I entered the president's office and sat down. Thank you for your time. I'm Abby. Sorry to come unannounced, but there's something important I need to discuss with President Morris immediately. What might that be? About that project we were advancing. Ah, I've left that in Ryan's hands. I'm aware of that. Ah, right, you two are married. Yes, about that project, I want it completely halted. What did you say? And I'm terminating all contracts we currently have with you. Doing that would bankrupt our company. That may be true. But it's your employee who is to blame. What? Please bring Ryan with you to my house at 11 tomorrow. What does that mean? You'll see. I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up the phone. Honestly, I bear no grudge against President Morris, but this is necessary. I'm using him for my revenge against Ryan. After all, I have something special up my sleeve. The next day, I waited in the president's office for Ryan and his arrival. Ms. Brown, your 11 a.m. appointment is here. Let them in. They entered, and Ryan froze when he saw me. I almost laughed at his stunned expression. Welcome, thank you for coming. Why are you here? Because I'm the president of this company. I kept it quiet from President Morris. It would be troublesome if you knew, wouldn't it? So, what about the contract? Right, about that. Please, look at this first. I handed over the envelope my father had entrusted to me. Is this true? Everything here was investigated by my father before he died. Ryan, you have done something terrible. What? Ryan had been securing contracts using bribes and illegal methods, all of which were detailed in the records. The amount of time it must have taken to compile all this information. What a foolish man. Damn it. Even so, I have a right to inherit the assets. It wouldn't be right not to honor my father. First off, you have no right to the assets I inherited. There should be a division of assets. I know that. Unfortunately for you, that isn't recognized in the division. You should have studied up. Where did I go wrong? From the beginning. Ryan's father had been a president but had passed away, apparently by suicide. A major factor was his company being cut off by another company. All of this was also investigated by my father. Importantly, that company had a name almost identical to ours. I explained this to Ryan. Essentially, all of this was a misunderstanding by you. That's a lie. I heard it from my mother. That can't be. What if the story you heard was wrong? Plus, there's no record of any dealings with your father's company in the past. How could this happen? What was it all for? Your actions have caused trouble for many people. You're going to be held responsible. Wait. President Morris, can I leave the rest to you? Depending on how things go, I might reconsider the cancellation of our deals. Of course. I will handle it immediately. Then goodbye. Don't ever show me your face again. After that, Ryan was practically dragged out of the office by President Morris. I never thought it would come to this, but I wonder where my father had first noticed something was wrong. Now, I'll never get the chance to ask him. But I feel a bit relieved. Shortly after, President Morris contacted me. I see. Thank you for handling this. As a result, Ryan was fired. Not only that, but it appears he had been embezzling company funds to pay for bribes. Now, preparations are being made to press charges. That seems like a fair response. Amidst all this, I received a call from Ryan. Everything you said was right. About what? I spoke to my mother again. It turns out it was all a misunderstanding. My father hadn't left a will either. I see. Can I ask you something? Was encouraging my father to drink all part of your plan? Yes. I see. I'm sorry. It's too late for apologies now. From now on, you're on your own. I understand. I'm not supporting you. Just being sarcastic. Go to hell. I hung up the phone and deleted all his contact information. I had almost forgotten, but on the back of a photo in Ryan's study, written in red pen, was the word revenge target. It was all a mistake from the start, but to think I was targeted. I sat on the sofa in the president's office, reminiscing about the words written by my father in the envelope. Abby, you are my pride and joy. Do as you wish. I believe in you. I had never been told something like that before. To ensure my father can rest peacefully in heaven, I will protect the company he left behind with my life.